Hello, hello. I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes as usual while Facebook does its thing and lets people know that I'm here. While we're waiting for that to occur, if you are here, when you come in, just say hello and post down below so I know you're here. And if you have questions, I'll come back after the fact and answer them to the best of my ability. So again, just weigh in and say hello and tell me you're here. Today, we're going to talk about authentic power. Let me ask you this question. Would you like to have more personal power in your life? Would you like to have more ability and power to address your finances? Hey, Patricia, would you like to have more ability and power to be more healthy and vibrant? Would you like to have more ability and power above and beyond what life throws at you? Look, we live in chaotic times, am I right? We live in turbulent times. Would you like to have more personal power in 2021 to go through any storm, to be able to create what you desire and deserve regardless of what life is throwing at you? Well, if the answer is yes, and there's a certain amount of things you need to understand, and we'll get to those in just a moment. But while we're waiting, hey, Margaret, hey, Raquel, hey, Maura, hopefully I said your name right. While we're waiting for more people to roll in here, let me just say a couple of things. First of all, if you're not following me on YouTube, there's over 200 hours of free video lessons, skills, technologies, techniques there. It's James Arthur Ray. Just go follow me on YouTube and check out all the resources we have there. Over 200 hours. Second thing, if this video impacts your life in a positive way, then just do me a big favor and do yourself a big favor and do the people that you love a big favor and just hit that share button. Please just hit that share button and wait until you see what we talk about here. But if it resonates with you and it impacts you in a positive way, then help me help you help those that you love and care about. Just hit the share button. It's really, really easy to do. Now, let's come back to this idea of personal power. Hey, Dominic, let's come back to the idea of personal power, and let me submit to you that if you answered yes to any of the questions that we started off with, and you would like to have more personal power, then you need to understand what that means. Because power, the term power, is vastly, grossly misunderstood. Are you with me? You know, a lot of people think that power comes from money. It doesn't. A lot of people think that power comes from position. Nope. A lot of people think it comes from certain accolades or certain number of followers or certain agreement. Nope, none of that. Personal power, and the term power is defined as this. You may want to write this down. Power is the ability to create willful change in the fabric of your universe, both spiritually and materially. Did you get that? Let me repeat it. Power is the ability to create willful change in the fabric of your universe, both spiritually and materially. Well, would you like to have, now that we've defined that, would you like to have more personal power? The ability to create willful change in the fabric of your universe, both spiritually and materially. Then you have to understand, if the answer is yes, then you have to understand what power really is, and more importantly, what you must do to possess it, because most people are way off course here. Now, there is the power in this universe. If you look at the Toltec traditions, they call the creative source the power, all caps, power. We could call it God. We could call it infinite intelligence. We can call it universal mind. It doesn't matter what you call it, because it's way bigger than you and me, and it really has bigger things to deal with than what we call it. But nonetheless, from that power, the power, you and I both have the ability to access personal power. And most people are not even coming close to their God-given capability. Are you with me on this? Most people sell themselves short. You are a magical being. And you have so much potential and so much potential power and so much potential ability. And yet, most individuals that I work with every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year are not even coming close to scratching the surface of what their God-given abilities are. Are you with me on this? Now let's look at what's going on in the world right now. Let's face it, we live in apparently chaotic times. We live in apparently turbulent times. Things are kind of messy in our world right now. Am I right? And so, to develop more personal power, you have to make the main thing the main thing. And what's the main thing? Well, if you saw my very first video I did right after the first of the year, then we went through four major life lessons that we should have learned in 2020. There's more than four, but four major life lessons I share with you that we should have learned in 2020. Now, if you missed that live, then go back. It's in my feed. Just scroll back. It's still there. But the number one life lesson with respect to personal power is job number one. What we call job number one is self-awareness. And this is not news. You know, the Oracle of Delphi told us all the way back in the Greek and Roman era, know thyself, and you shall possess the keys to the universe and the secrets of the gods. Know thyself. And this has never been more important than it is today. Because look at what happened to most people in 2020. And there's no value in lying to yourself, but just do a little inventory here. To the degree you experience a large amount of fear in 2020, then that shows you that you don't have a lot of personal power. Now, that's not a judgment, it's just an observation. And I'm encouraging you to observe yourself clearly. You don't have a lot of personal power. To the degree that you are afraid of a virus, then you're not thinking your own thoughts. Most people don't think their own thoughts. And you go, well, James, of course I think my own thoughts. Are you sure about that? Because to the degree you experience fear about a virus, then you're not thinking your own thoughts, which means you also don't have a lot of self-awareness, which means you don't have a lot of personal power. Are you follow on the chain here? To have personal power, you have to have self-awareness. To have self-awareness, you have to think your own thoughts and feel your own feelings. To the degree that you experience a lot of fear in 2020 around a virus, you're not thinking your own thoughts. Because let's face the facts, guys. You've been exposed to viruses since the day you were born. Your immune system has developed over millions of years, and it thrives on fighting viruses. That's how it thrives. That's how it grows stronger. You have more bacteria in your body right now than you have cells. And so, to the degree you experience fear, and these are physiological medical facts, you can look them up. To the degree you experience fear, then you're not thinking your own thoughts. You're thinking the thoughts that have been handed to you. To the degree you experience fear around being laid off or losing your job or a whole host of things. And by the way, I'm not minimizing those. Please understand, I will never minimize those. I've been through that myself, and I know how it feels. But to the degree you experience fear, you're not thinking for yourself because you're putting your personal power outside of yourself. Your security and power in your own mind is the effect of an external cause. And you're putting your sense of self and your sense of security outside of yourself. Are you with me on this? And so you must take your power back. I guess you don't have to, but that's my strong recommendation, is that you must take your power back. You must remember the things you've forgotten to remember. Now, there are forces in this universe in this world that do not want you to remember who you really are. You're a magical being. You have the ability to create willful change in the fabric of your universe, both spiritually and materially. And every great teacher, sage, and saint who's ever walked this planet has told us that in one way, shape, or fashion. When would now be the time to listen? When would now be the time to remember the things you've forgotten to remember and forget the things you've forgotten to forget? Because you've been programmed that you are a pawn. You're not a pawn. You're a queen. You're a king. You've been given the ability to have dominion in your life. And look, we never know if we have dominion in our life until we face great difficulties and challenges. You can say, oh, I've got dominion. When everything is sailing away, everything is going smoothly. Oh, I've got a lot of dominion, James. I'm really rock solid. Okay, well, let's see what happens when the floor falls out from under you. Look, let me promise you this. When everything appears to be falling apart, have you ever felt that way? Did you feel that way yesterday? Did you feel that way right now? When everything appears to be falling apart, again, I'm not minimizing this because I've been there. You know anything about my life, you know I've got a little credibility to talk about these things. When everything appears to be falling apart, it's actually coming together, potentially, on a grander, greater scale. But what most of us do, because we don't have self-awareness and we don't know who we are and we don't know really what we're capable of, because we're buying into socialized mind and the conditioning we're handed, is that when things appear to be going sideways outside of us, then we fold. We think my life's falling apart and I'm done. No, you're not done. It's coming together at a grander, greater scale. When you have the self-awareness of who you really are. You are not your body. You're not your immune system. You're not your bank account. You're not your business. You're none of those things. You are experiencing those things. You're so much more than that. And I hope that makes sense to you. Look, I could riff all day. You know that. And I'm not going to do that. I know you have a lot of things to do, but let me just ask this question. Does this resonate with you? It does with Sly, because he's already told me. If it resonates with you, then I want to offer you an opportunity. And if you get it, then your actions will bear that out. A lot of people go, well, self-awareness is job number one. Self-awareness is the most important thing. And yet, if you look at their calendar and their checkbook and their bank account, they don't have a whole lot of time, energy, effort, money invested into their own self-awareness. It's really easy to talk. It's much different to walk. If you get this, then your actions will bear it out, because you need to make the most important thing the most important thing. Self-awareness is job number one. To know who you really are. Not your business, not your bank account, not what society has told you, but to know that you're a magical being, to know that you have the God-given ability to create willful change in the fabric of your universe, both spiritually and materially. To not only know that, but to be able to do that. And if those things resonate with you, then I have an opportunity for you. And that's an event we have coming up next month, live on Zoom. It's a 3-day experience called Legendary Leadership. Now, let me ask you this question. Would you like to be the leader that this world is waiting for? Because I suggest you are. And the very first step to becoming the leader the world is waiting for, I suggest we need some new leaders in this world. Are you with me on this? I suggest we need some leaders who lead with the heart, not just the pocketbook. I suggest we need leaders who see the big picture and help empower the people. Would you like to be that leader? Well, the first step is you have to stop looking for leaders and choose to become the leader, and it takes self-awareness to do that. Then, if the answer is yes, then let me ask you another question. Would you like to have the personal power and the ability to create willful change. Willful change in the fabric of your universe, both spiritually and materially, irrespective of what the economy does, irrespective of who's in the presidential office, irrespective of external situations and circumstances. If the answer is yes, then I have an opportunity for you. It's called legendary leadership. In legendary leadership, and I'll be quick here, there's a link above my head. You can click the link, go to the landing page, and get all the details. But in legendary leadership, you're going to learn about your shadow. Now, maybe you're aware of the concept of the shadow. It was postulated by Carl Jung. And that shadow is that part of yourself that's totally unconscious. And yet it runs your behavior and is projected outward into your results and onto others. Now, what happens to a shadow when you bring it into the light? It disappears, doesn't it? The reason your shadow has not disappeared is because you haven't recognized it yet. Recognition is the first law of learning and transformation. When you recognize it, now you know how to deal with it and you can heal it and release it. You'll learn about your shadow self in legendary leadership. You go, what's that have to do with leadership? Well, how can you lead if you don't know who you are? How can you lead if you don't even think your own thoughts? If you're buying into what you've been sold your entire life, you can't be a leader. You're just a follower. In legendary leadership, you're going to answer the single most predictive and powerful and consistent question that I've gotten from traveling around the world, working with over 1 million people from 146 countries around the world. Invariably, the number one question is, James, what's my purpose? Why am I here? What's the meaning of life? Some derivation thereof. Well, you will leave that 3-day experience, legendary leadership, with a crystal clear, defined purpose. You'll know exactly why you're here. Let me ask you this question. Why did God send you here in these turbulent times? Do you know? Because I submit to you that you're here right now in this time in history for a particular reason. And if you don't fulfill that purpose, let me just tell you my belief system is that your higher counsel, when you leave this lifetime, is not going to be very happy with you. And you're going to leave this lifetime with a tremendous amount of regret, realizing that you didn't seize the opportunity to live that purpose and to bring value to the world. Legendary leadership, you'll get super clear on your unique gifts God has given you and how to fold those into your personal purpose so that you literally make the impact and the difference that you're here to make. You'll also learn the drivers, the deep internal drivers that cause you to take the action that you take. They also cause you not to take the action that you need to take. In other words, they hinder you and hold you back. Just suppose I could help you find the reasons that you procrastinate. Just suppose that we could help you not only clarify your purpose, but remove the blocks and the barriers that will keep you from living that purpose every single day. Just suppose for a moment I could help you develop the willpower and the ability not only to take your power back, but to create willful change in the fabric of your universe, both spiritually and materially. If any of this is resonating with you, then you know what you got to do. Click the link above my head, go to the landing page, reserve your seat, come join us in February. You'll be with a growth-minded group of leaders from around the globe, and it's not just me talking. We put you into work groups. You have a workbook. You have exercises because we're about results, application, which brings results. Look, hopefully this is a blessing to you. If it was a blessing to you, then please hit the share button and click the link above my head and join us at Legendary Leadership. What better way to kick off 2021 while we're still in the turbulence, guys? We're still in the apparent chaos, guys. Let's get our head on square. Let's build our foundation strong, and let's do what we're here to do together. Click the link above my head. God bless you. Lots of love to you. I'll see you at Legendary Leadership.